I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. I've been on the low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine.
Hey everyone, this is Project Mayday. This is Bree and Zeph. And today we have Kelley Craig, who is an EMS captain at a fire department here in California, and he has 14 years of experience in the field. So welcome, Kelley.
Hi, glad to be here.
All right, so starting out, we want to know, how did you even get into the first responder career?
It actually started out when I was in high school, senior in high school. Initially, I had aspirations to join the Navy, and in my senior year, my junior year, I'd heard about a program, the 49er ROP program, Regional Occupational Program, and they had a fire tech program. And I had heard it's very paramilitary and was kind of get you in shape, kind of kick your butt a little bit, and I decided to sign up for it. And my first week in the class, I fell in love with fire and EMS, and that's where I really got started. And actually, my first day officially in the fire service, my first day in that class was my 18th birthday. So that was kind of cool. So I can literally say I've been a fireman since I was 18, and that's what kind of launched me into this. And then after the high school program, I kind of volunteered in my local department, and my passion for the job and the career just kind of grew from there.
You were involved in a near miss situation on a strike team or a wildland fire?
It was actually an initial attack assignment. So the river fire in 2021 in Colfax, California, is right outside my district. I was the fifth due engine, or on the initial assignment, I was the fifth due engine. When we came down, it was in the Bear River campground, so along a river canyon. When we came down, I pulled up, got out and went to the initial IC of the incident, incident commander of the incident, and asked for an assignment. And he told me to take a road, Spring Creek Road, I believe it was, and start doing structure protection. So my crew and I was with my engineer, who at the time was 21. And he's an extremely experienced engineer for only being 21 as well. Really good fireman. And then I had our seasonal with us as well. So it was three of us. So we made our way up the road, and coming in on the dirt road, going in, we're in a Type 1, a large, cab over engine, not necessarily designed for being out in the wilderness, but came down the dirt road and got to the end where we had the very end where it wide off, driveway down to the right led to a residence, a home. I could see on my map there was a residence up to the left, and it happened to be at the very tip of a spur ridge, where the origin of the fire was right down below us. So the fire was working its way up the hill towards us, so we were put on structure protection there. When we initially pulled up, I had good working fire right in front of our engine. A normal tactic when we go on these kind of incidents is to turn the engine around and have it facing out. Because I had fire impinging on our engine very quickly, I decided as the engine captain to have my engineer park, and our fireman got out and immediately started fighting fire. While I kind of started assessing our situation. Pulling into the driveway to our left, this is kind of important for the story, I had a large metal carport and basically a junkyard next to us, which is very common in the hills of California. Lots of cars, engine parts, trash, just anything and anything you can think of. Very, very close proximity to the engine, making our access and egress a little bit difficult. And then down the hill, I went down to saw that there was a structure down there. It turned out to be just a trailer, someone's home. It was a trailer. And I went and made sure that no one was home. So I have my fireman take 200 feet of line down around the corner to the house below us, because we were right above the other house, and one of the CAL FIRE engines was at that house, and they had fire coming up at that house. Actually, part of the deck was on fire already, and a large portion of the backyard, and all very dry grass, beginning of August, all very dry grass, and their crew was fully engaged. I actually went up to the engine captain there, who was working on getting a chainsaw to cut the deck off the house because it was lighting on fire. grabbed their reel line and started helping them fight fire on the deck. After about 15, 20 minutes, when they finally got a handle on it, or a little bit of a handle on it, I realized that I was a little too engaged with them and needed to go back to my engine, reassess some things, and I'd been working for a little while, so needed some water, and to kind of reassess our situation, because I was a little too focused in. Left Brad and my fireman down with their engine company at the end of the hose line, went back up, got some water, and that's when I noticed a spot fire above us, kind of above where that junkyard was. I called out to my guys, hey, I need help. I have a spot fire. I rolled out some hose, went up to the end of it, had to come back down, charge it by myself because my engineer was down with Brad, and started fighting the spot fire. And that's when I noticed started getting a lot windier. It started getting much hotter, and we started getting a lot more smoke. So we're probably 20 to 30 minutes into the incident from initial dispatch. From our time we arrived to this point where I'm starting to get spot fires. My engineer Ryan comes up. He takes over the hose for me because, again, I'm too close to it. I need to back out a little bit and reassess. I go back down to the engine and assist with doing a few things down there. And that's when all of a sudden conditions, they always say conditions change like that. It actually got very hot, so smoky that I could barely see around us. Started coughing, couldn't breathe well, and I could not see either of my guys.
Wow. Okay, so right now, I mean,
things are changing. Yep.
So, and when you say very rapidly, like, what is a time frame on this? From when you were like, okay, we're fighting this fire.
From the time I got back up to the engine after being down with the Cal Fire crew, to when I got to my engine, to I noticed there was a spot fire, to where I went back down to the engine, 5 minutes, if that.
Just like that.
It was that quick that I didn't have even time to really catch my breath from doing the work up at the spot fire. So with that, when I was back in the engine, I very specifically remember feeling the wind shift. In our world, when I have a wind shift, especially in the canyons that we were in, which is a very typical wind, a local wind that we get around the 1:30, 2 o'clock mark, which it was, I felt that wind shift, and it was a significant enough wind shift that like I said, I felt it, and I started screaming out to my crews, wind shift, and they acknowledged they heard me, but I couldn't see them. So I ran down. Ryan was okay at the spot fire. I ran down to Brad. And at that point, running down to him, I saw just literally a wall of flames running up the hill towards the backyard where Cal Fire was and where Brad was. And I told Brad, put a little bit of water on it, keep it cool, don't let it get to us that quickly. And I went back up to the engine and started calling in on the radio that, hey, we had a wind shift. We're experiencing erratic fire behavior up here. Telling the IC, telling our division at this point. And I started hearing the radio traffic getting very chaotic. Yeah. Which in my mind means things are going south very quickly.
Well, not just for you. I assume for everybody.
Not just for me. It was
the Cal Fire unit right next to you, so they're experiencing the same shifting conditions.
And I had another local government crew further down the road than us, I guess closer to the entrance point of the road, because we were at the very tip of the road, start saying they had fire coming up on them. And they were much further, quite a few houses down from us. And I brought Brad back. I told my guys to get back to the engine. Yeah. I brought us back to the engine because, again, I started not being able to see. Hotter. Wind was going crazy. We started getting that original spot fire turned into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spot fires. Frequent spot fires across the line. Anyone who knows wildland fire knows that's
a big no-no.
Watch out situation. Frequent spot fires over the top of us where we couldn't handle them. And then the original fire that was next to my engine, we pulled up, flared up, and started working in. So in the middle of the two driveways was kind of a total island of fuel of just dried leaves, dried pine needles, manzanita, a lot of heavier, kind of moderate to heavy fuels that was starting to ignite. And I remember too, Ryan kind of took a hose line and dove down the hill to work on it. And I said, get back.
Yeah.
Do not go down there. Let it burn. Get back to the engine. And with those changing conditions, I realized I'm like, we can't stay here. We need. So this is a losing battle. We need to leave. So something that I've always heard people say and have never had to say it myself was I told them cut and run. So we took our knives out. We cut the hose off the engine. We all dove in the engine. The cab was full of smoke from us just opening the doors. And we started trying to turn around. Well, unfortunately, like I said, this is where the junkyard comes into play. We couldn't get the engine turned around. There was a car parked much too close to us. Plus, with the water we were flowing, was turning the driveway or the kind of dirt road into mud.
Yep.
So it was getting very stressful very quickly. But we kept calm. We were obviously amped up, but kept calm. And my engineer, again, like I said, he's extremely young, but he's very mechanically savvy. He's a mechanic on his off time, dirt biker, all this stuff, and off-roader, snow mudder, and everything. And he goes, hey, I'm going to go see if I can either jumpstart that car or see if there's keys in it. And luckily, the keys were in it. So him and Brad were actually able to get it started enough to be able to move it and back it up out of the way of the engine to where we could turn around.
That's impressive. I mean, in that situation, to have the wherewithal to be like, I can't turn the engine around, but I'm going to go hop in there. I mean, when you do that so many times throughout your career, it's just like, you do like a 20-point turn and then you go, as opposed to, but like being able to make that decision to hop in there and see if the keys are in it, that's impressive.
Yeah, and it was at the point too where we couldn't even Austin Powers it turning this engine around. And I have a really good turn radius on my engine. We couldn't do it.
But what I'm saying, it's like when you do something so frequently, it's like it's what you go to without when the stress is on. But to like break from that and be like, I'm gonna go. I'm just
gonna move that car.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was extremely impressed. So at this point too, while they're doing that, the trash piles were starting to light on fire. I could barely see anywhere around us. When they got out is when I made the decision to call for help and notify them that our incident commander that we were in a bad spot. And that was super surreal because we've always, everyone talks about it and kind of practices it and things like that, and we should all be training on it and things like that. But to actually have to get on the radio and say, I see engine 84, information, our access has been, or our egress has been cut off. We have fire surrounding us. We're unable to see, and we're having difficulties getting the engine turned around. Was difficult, but the other thing I had to ask for, and I never thought I'd ever have to do this again, is I called for helicopters. I said, I need help. I need helicopters to come drop on us because I can't see and I don't know where the fire's at. I just knew it was somewhere all around us. So where I learned in this moment is how important it is to have your GPS coordinates right where you can get them instantly. Yeah. Because it definitely, while they were turning that car around and getting back in and getting the engine turned around, trying to get the engine turned around, it took me a second to, get my phone out, and luckily I had really good cell service, get my coordinates up, and then relay it to my division, or to my incident commander. When we finally did get the engine turned around and I was still directing the helicopters in, Ryan asked me, he goes, hey, do you want me to leave? Do we want to go down the road? And I looked straight ahead of me in the engine, and I couldn't see anything. It was just smoke and some manzanita. I didn't see flames. I didn't see anything else. And I told him, and I told myself, I know what we this is shitty right here. What we have here sucks. But I know what we have here. I don't know what's down there. I have no idea what's down there. And on our way in, having seen the vegetation and the fuel typing that was down there, and then also I'll kind of detract away from myself. One of the other engine crews, that engine crew, the local government that was down the road from us, was taking refuge in a home. They had bailed out of their engines. Their engines were getting hit by flames and were melting. They bailed out, and a water tender and an engine crew bailed out and took refuge in a home. A dozer operator was having a resident taking refuge in his dozer.
Wow.
And it was chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard that, and I went, those guys are having a way rougher time than we are. We're staying right here.
Yeah.
And, man, I'm really glad we didn't leave, and I'll tell you why when we get to the end of the story. But, like I said, we finally started getting those drops. I started directing some things around. And then the fire moved past us. It had burned pretty much everything that was going to burn. The helicopters got, the junkyard knocked down. I told them we were all good and we could move on. And the whole time during this too, my division, she was trying to get to us. She was talking to us on the radio like, hey, I'm trying to get there. She had power lines fall on her truck where they were more than likely active. So she had to figure out how to jimmy rig her truck to get power lines off and go under them. The hood of her truck got totally messed up from it.
Damn.
But she finally, after a while, after the fire passed, it had lifted, we all got out, gave each other a hug, high five, like, yeah, we made it,
We didn't die, yay!
And actually, at one point, I got like 3 or 4 drops in from the helicopters. I finally remembered that my GoPro was in the dash of the engine. I'm like, I should probably record our death, so it might be good to have that at some point. Just that dark humor in my head. And so I recorded the end of it, and she showed up. We got out and talked with her, and she's like, yeah, let's get you guys out of here. Just drive all the way out, and we'll kind of go from there. So we drove out, and on our way out, I was just absolutely shocked because it was literally moonscaped.
Yeah.
All the heavy vegetation, manzanita, everything, it was ash and black twigs sticking out of the ground.
And you keep saying manzanita. Manzanita, if you don't know, it's like it's a tree that has a lot of oil in it. So when it burns, like it burns.
It's very dense wood and very oily wood and very oily leaves. Yeah, sorry for people who don't know. Pine trees, oak trees, manzanita, dead and down underbrush, things like that, all gone. And I just literally told my guys, wow, I'm really glad we stayed.
Yeah.
And all of us were like, yeah, we knew exactly what we had. It was shitty, but we knew what we had. And I'm really glad we stayed. And we made our way out, and one of the first people I came across after we parked and kind of staged and waited for another assignment was my fire chief. He came up to me. He comes up and gives me a big hug. He goes, don't you ever do that again. And he was like, and it's funny because of all the things that we worry about as fire captains or as firemen is, God, I really hope I didn't sound like an idiot on the radio.
Because it's recorded. It's recorded, yeah.
And after all, and I even remember like thinking that to myself as I'm like, oh, I might get really hurt or die, or I don't know what's going to happen to us up here. Because it was at that point that it was, my training had taught me enough to know that this is a very bad situation. And I hope I portrayed that. It wasn't like I was just pulling the trigger on things that were safe. But I remember thinking that to myself too, like, God, I really hope I don't sound stupid doing all this. and actually I did get the compliment from my chief and from my other engine captain who was there, who was also extremely nervous listening to it. And every person that was there listening, like, man, you sounded, knowing you, we could tell you were amped. But if we didn't know you, you sounded really calm and collected on the radio. I'm like, oh, thank God. I don't want to sound panicked while I'm about to die, but...
Okay, so now you're at the end, right? Everyone's relieved. Your fire chief is commending you and hugging you. Thank you for not dying. So, I mean, what was your thought process? I mean, you literally, this is what, a near miss, right? That's what we call it in the fire service.
Yeah, definitely.
And by we,
a near miss,
I don't work for a fire department. Yeah, but right. I mean, this is one of the worst case scenarios because it could have ended another way.
Yeah,
easily.
And what I attribute it to is, thankfully, I've had some really good mentors, and I've had a lot of people who have taught me the right way, and I've trained a lot, and I've worked really hard, and again, 14 years, I haven't seen it all, done it all by any stretch of the imagination, but I have a few slides in my slide tray. I did replay it in my head a lot, and I talked about it with my crew a lot, and there was a lot of, after effects of it, but I wouldn't say they were negative for me. And what, like I said, I attribute that a lot to is I know I made the right decisions. Without a shadow of a doubt, I made the right decisions. I trusted my training. I trusted my gut. I trusted my instinct. And the outcome came out to be what I wanted it to be. And there was a point when I had, like I said, I had a few of those helicopter drops where I just finally took that deep breath. And it was kind of almost, I cried for just a second while my crew was out of the rig. I'm like, I don't want them to see this. Because I just went, okay.
Yeah.
We're okay now.
Yeah.
And like I said, emotionally, what I felt from it was, I was so stoked that I made those right decisions.
Yes.
Because I know it would have affected me way more negatively if I felt like I could have gone back and, could I have done this differently? Could I have done this? If we had left at this time. And that's the other thing is there was no real trigger point. There was no trigger point of, hey, now's your time to leave, Kelley. Hey, now's your time to get your engine crew and leave. There wasn't. That came and went so fast. And again, I'm so glad I didn't because I saw the devastation and the destruction that happened that we could have been in the middle of. And that affected me more emotionally of, man, if I had made that decision, this would have been a way worse outcome. And like
there was a trigger moment, but the fact of the matter that the trigger moment came and went and passed so quickly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't even make the decision. And honestly, the trigger moment was we shouldn't have even been there.
Yeah.
That's honestly what it was. That's one of those assignments that there was, I look back and we actually did the house below us that Cal Fire was at, that house was saved.
Wow.
It was the only house on that road that was saved. The rest were gone. And to my knowledge, it was saved. At least the next day it was still there. Yeah, that trigger point came and gone. Like I said, emotionally what that did for me was make me that much more solidified that I know what I'm doing. And I made the right decisions. And kind of answer your question too of, has it affected my decision making now? Has it affected how I do things now? Yeah, but in a positive way. Because I'm that much more confident. And not overly confident, not like arrogantly confident that, I kicked ass and I saved my whole crew and did all. I don't view it in that way whatsoever. I view it as being very thankful for the training that I've had and being put in that situation at a point in my career where I was able to handle it. And God, I don't want to do it again anytime soon. But it added so much more to me as a person and me as a fire captain and me as a professional in EMS and fire and in, public service. It gave me so much more to work with and gave me that confidence that I needed at the time to continue doing what I do.
Do you think it changed your view on your career choice?
No. It strengthened my view of my career choice. And it did, and again, it did humble me a lot. It majorly humbled me.
Well, fire will do that to you.
Yeah.
I mean...
And like I said, in a very, very positive way. It humbled me to the point of, like I said, man, I'm glad I know what I'm doing, and I'm glad I made the decisions I made. And honestly, too, I've been talking a lot about me. I'm extremely proud of the guys that I had that day, and I'm very thankful for the two that I had that day, for as young as they are. They were probably two of the best choices I could have had that day. And they are, and again, I want to detract away from me because they are the reason that I made the decisions I made. And they took a lot of actions to, like I said, like Ryan moving and Brad moving that car.
Yeah.
Jumping out of the engine when they finally got a point where we could get out there and breathe a little bit, and putting out fires around us while helicopters were dropping around us. All I did was sit in the cab and kind of orchestrate things.
But I mean, Zeph and yourself obviously are engine bosses, and you are in charge of other people's lives and safety. To have that type of responsibility, did that change you at all, or are you happy that you are still in control and you're still the leader?
Because that's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot.
Because what it comes down to ultimately when you're sitting in that role is, it's like whatever happens to me, I'm going to make sure my crew comes home.
No, I respond to stress and things, and after the stress differently than most people.
Sure.
I have a different way of coping with things than a lot of people, I feel like. And again, not that I'm better than anyone else in any way, shape, or form. I've learned myself at a core level of understanding how to cope with things. And it's really hard to get to that point. And I struggle with it. Like I said, I woke up this morning at 7 a.m, and the time we had our fire yesterday, going, man, 24 hours ago, I was up a ladder pulling someone out of a building, it's crazy. And I have different ways of coping with things, and I hope that for me sharing this, my story and everything, that I can help somebody else cope with something potentially worse than what I dealt with.
Well, what do you think is positive about your coping mechanisms that's different than you think the stereotype of kind of the field?
I talk about it.
Yeah.
I open up. I'm very emotional. I've always kind of been that way in my life. I'm very emotionally open. I pretend to be like kind of a hard ass and hardcore guy at work and stuff for the new guys, but I'm also extremely passionate about my job and my career. And I am not afraid to sit with anybody, my new guys, my senior guys, and talk about our feelings. The F word, the feeling.
The F word. Don't talk about it.
I'm not afraid to do it, and it's because I know it helps, and it's always helped me. And Bree knows this because we talk at class and stuff like that. I'm a talker. I like to talk to people and get to know them, and help people with those experiences. I'm not only a rescuer by profession, I'm a rescuer just by nature. That's how it's always been explained. I know, right? It's how it's been explained to me. And this is not me describing myself, as how others have described me. Sometimes I drown with the person, but I've kind of learned how not to do that too.
Well, I think that's a great summary of this story, and we are going to put you back on the hot seat.
Yeah, out of the fire and into the new one right here. All right, here we go.
I'm looking forward to this.
Rapid fire, one word, one phrase answers, kind of what we're looking for here, and 5 questions, and here we go. Our first question: what is the go-to meal when you're at the firehouse?
Tri-tip.
Yeah.
Tri-tip and what? What are the sides?
Asparagus, maybe roasted broccoli, sweet potatoes.
Ooh.
That's my big one.
Okay.
My engineer got really sick of tri-tip for a while when I was on keto.
There's no such thing as being sick of tri-tip. That is
ask my other engineer Dylan. He'll tell you that that's not a thing.
It's un-American. Question number 2: how much money to shave that mustache?
Oh, there's not enough money in that.
You want to do it for $1 million?
I don't know. It's kind of become part of
it. Grows back.
Kelly, seriously?
How much do you have on you?
Oh.
Let's do it live. We'll do a fundraiser. Project Mayday fundraiser. No,
because Maddie will kill me. My girlfriend, she loves it.
I think she likes $1 million. That mustache will grow back.
All right.
Really? So you're not going to put a value?
I can't. It's
a part of you now.
It is.
Yeah,
it's been like 4 years.
How much to cut off my arm?
4 years. Yeah. 4 years. Okay.
That's a long time. I'm not that old.
All right. Question number 3. What is that one smell that you will never forget? In this industry, we all have one. We all have
It's
one.
probably the same as mine. Lower GI.
That's what I said. We were talking before. Lower GI bleeds.
Lower and upper GI bleeds.
Yeah. That's
When I walk in the front door, that's
you
what I want.
know.
I can tolerate it.
Yeah, but you know.
It's not one of those things that
You don't even
destroys me, but I know it.
Yeah,
you don't have to see it. You're just like, yep.
Yep.
Get it.
Extra blankets. Bring them in.
Yeah, it's not dead bodies. It's GI bleeds.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of EMS is the same way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Question number 4. You have the power to change one thing in our profession. What would it be?
Dangerous arrogance.
Yeah.
All right.
That's real.
Yeah.
That kills people.
It can be.
Cannot stand it.
All right. Question number 5. One word to describe the fire service.
Can I use 3? Best job ever.
Perfect.
All right. Well, this is Project Mayday. We want to say thank you, Kelley Craig, for sharing your story. We really appreciate you coming on and call out.
Call out.